education system with substantive democracy. This includes changing the structure of our institutions of education, where they sit together with students from various communities from various parts of the country, understand about religion, religious principles, traditions, festivals, and so on and so forth. But this should be in school. So that is about democratizing the structure. Then the curriculum entirely must be democratically oriented, not just introducing one subject. And I say this because I was quite instrumental in introducing human rights law to the legal education in the country. Quite often we think, oh, we've now made legal education aligned with human rights. Absolutely not. Just by introducing one subject, you can't. Because the teaching, the ethos of education, all subjects must have that alignment. Teacher training, teaching methods, they must all integrate this idea of democratizing education. So we have this idea that we change laws periodically, we amend the Constitution, and quite often the amendments have brought about, I wouldn't say all the time, but sometimes have brought about good results for the people. So we think we can improve our democratic systems, the legal law reform, constitutional reform, changing, sort of building institutions and so on. I'm not saying those are not important. They are important, but that alone is not sufficient because, after all, the polity has to be democratic. This is what I'm saying. So if you look at, since franchise is a human right, if you look at the idea of the right to education, it's a human right, I think the Kannangara reforms really got it. Because when you look at the Universal Declaration of Human Rights and what it has to say about the right, speak of education, that trains one for the employment market. Does not. Education in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights is because we have philosophical thinkers on education. One of the main ones being John Dewey, who was an American philosopher who presented a lot of ideas, as you know, on education, where his whole point was education must be about creating this democratic human being, democratic citizen. And I must say, and in his view, education must be liberation. That education must liberate us from orthodox ideas, that we must become, again, free people. We can't build democracies unless that happens. Otherwise, we will always veer towards this very sort of neo-feudalistic, ways of thinking, of, voting emotionally rather than in a reasoned way, and so on and so forth. So I say this because when we look at the past 94 years, can we be happy, can we be satisfied about the way in which we as Sri Lankan citizens have used our franchise? Has universal adult franchise paved the way for deeper democracy in governance? Have we been able to elect representatives who have been accountable to the people, who respect the people? So the decision is yours. I just only pose the questions. In my own opinion, we have procedural democracy. And you are doing a very good job of that, as the past two elections pointed out. But I think now that there is a larger audience here, and especially of young researchers, I think it's very incumbent on us to situate our research on procedural democracy within the framework of substantive democracy. Because if we don't have if we don't have a polity, a group of citizens in the country with this deep, democratic ethos, free thinkers, free speakers, all these procedural dimensions that, as I said earlier, will not bear the results. So the second and final point is the importance of internal party democracy. I think my friends here jumped the gun by putting this earlier. So it gave a sense about what I'm going to talk about. Because the point is now, let's see, I mean, the electoral process, the election process has come a long way, as we all know. It has some ways to go, but it has come a long way. And we are satisfied, given the past 2 elections, that, yes, certain, challenges have been met. But then, what is the choice available to people? Who are the candidates? Do people have a wide array of candidates at each election to choose from? Because that determines our social contract. Who do we vote for? And for that, internal party democracy is absolutely essential. So this is why, because for centuries, even with the advent of liberal democracy and the acceptance of multi-party systems, from a constitutional law perspective, from a legal perspective, the idea has been, even political theory, I think, has been that political parties are private entities. They are not public. They are run like a private club. So public law can't really interfere. Public law can't really go in and say, please run your affairs like this. But that is fast changing, as you can see. This is our own South Asian neighbor, the Constitution of Nepal. It's a very modern, very highly debated on constitution, I think, respected constitution. I know there have been difficulties that Nepal has faced recently, but constitutionally, I think they've really progressed a lot. This change from looking at political parties purely as private entities is changing, to the extent that now constitutions are dealing with internal party democracy because of this reality that unless parties themselves are democratic internally, they cannot really run a democracy. So that is absolutely essential. So now I know that in Sri Lanka too, when parties register, they have to inform the Election Commission about various criteria. But I think at each election, there ought to be a rigorous look at how these parties run their affairs. Are there regular elections? How often do they have elections? Are office bearers elected regularly? How inclusive are the decision-making bodies of political parties? And there, when we think of gender, I know more women entered parliament this year than at any other general election. That's still very low, about 10%. It's very low, the lowest in South Asia, as we know. But within parties, women don't hold high positions. Right now, I think there's only one political party which has a secretary general who's a woman. You think of, most political parties, the main actors, the doers, you don't find from the diversity of communities in the country, gender balance, you don't find it. So how do you run a democracy if your party is such? The other is about leadership. Now, these provisions in these constitutions don't really prescribe how leaders are to be selected. That's an internal party dimension. But if it is not possible for the law to specify that in the election of leaders, there must be term limits, this must at least come because of public, opinion. The public must say, we want to see change in leadership within parties frequently so that people have a choice. Because the way in which South Asian politics have shaped up, we are very much into this very family-based, nepotistic sort of, there's another word, a much nicer word for it. So we sort of get used to it. I recall some years ago in one of our neighboring countries, a political party leader leaving a political will saying, if by chance I'm killed or I die or, and so on, my son should be the one to take over. I'm sure many of you can identify that. It has gone to that extent. So that's the way political parties have felt free to run their own affairs. But they come forward, tell us that they are going to deepen democracy. and that they are going to have vibrant democracies. You can't do that. I mean, if you're not running your own, home house, so to speak, in that way. So I think there must be some provision to make this rapid change in party leadership so that people have a choice. Otherwise, think of it, if the same leaders continue as leaders of political parties for 15, 20, 25 years, even over 3 or 4 elections, people will only have the same choice. Similarly with the parliamentary election candidates, etc., it's the same. And interviewing some of the participants in Aragalya in the earlier months of the Aragalya, when it was very spontaneous, this was one of the major frustrations of the youth, that there isn't this change, that it is sort of a very deeply entrenched established system within political parties that don't provide opportunities for new ideas, new faces, and so on. So even, you look at this provision in the 2015 Constitution. So it says the political parties, when registering, must fulfill the following conditions. Its constitution and rules must be democratic. Of course, the criteria ought to be spelled out, what is meant by democratic. And then its constitution must provide for election of each of the office bearers of the party at the federal and state levels at least once in every 5 years, etc. And that there must be a provision of such inclusive representation in its executive committees at various levels as may be reflecting the diversity of Nepal. So this is absolutely essential. The word I was looking for was dynastic politics. In order to avoid that sort of politics, I think these sort of provisions are very important. And then it goes on to say, if the name, objective, insignia, or flag of a political party is of such a nature as to jeopardize the religious and communal unity of the country or to fragment the country, that party shall not be registered. So I think, these are things that the Election Commission might be called on to perform, these functions of vetting political parties to see whether they really meet these criteria, or at least there should be then, if not, Election Commissions, a separate independent body that will look at these party registration applications and to really decide on specified criteria whether indeed that party has a strong level of internal democracy. And so we also have this other constitution which preceded the Nepali constitution. Remember, these are not from the West. This is the Kenyan constitution of 2010, where there's a separate section for political parties. And it says basic requirements for political parties. Every political party shall have a national character as prescribed by an act of parliament, have a democratically elected governing body, promote and uphold national unity, abide by the democratic principles of good governance, promote and practice democracy through regular, fair elections within the party, respect the rights of all persons to participate in political process, including minorities and marginalized groups, respect and promote human rights and fundamental freedoms and gender equality and equity, promote the objects and principles of this constitution and the rule of law, and subscribe to and observe a code of conduct for political parties. I know there is a code of conduct for political parties, but how official that is and how that is observed has to be, we have to ask a question. And then it goes on to say, a political party shall not be founded on a religious, linguistic, racial, ethnic, gender, or regional basis, or seek to engage in advocacy of hatred on any such basis. B, engage in or encourage violence by or intimidation of its members, supporters, opponents, or any other person. C, at one point, this was very important for Sri Lanka, establish or maintain a paramilitary force, militia, or similar organization. D, engage in bribery or other forms of corruption. E, except as is provided under this chapter, or by an act of parliament, accept or use public resources to promote its interests or candidates in election. So the point is, I think this also has to be seen as a very important dimension of the election process? Do we have the confidence that political parties that run for election, that field candidates are running their affairs in a democratic way? So these are two constitutions from the global south that are saying this is very, very important, because otherwise people don't have that equitable, the opportunity of equitable representation. We may be voting for the same sort of person over and over again. So I say this because I think when we look at the past 94 years, quite often we have seen how even the very educated in this country have voted for very violent candidates who have, even though they may not be convicted of corruption, there may be serious allegations or, prone to corrupt practices, etc. So, people have voted. And that has been, I think, a major downfall for us. So I want to wind up here by saying, all the good work that is done in regard to procedural democracy, cannot bring about that effective re-democratization of governance in a country if we don't also focus on this substantive dimensions of democracy. That is of the essence. Because we can forever be discussing technicalities, but what is in our hearts and our head, what we've absorbed by way of a democratic ethos, is, I think, absolutely a sine qua non, absolutely foundational to having a meaningful, democratic political system. So I want to thank you very much once again, the Election Commission, for this very kind invitation. I really am very deeply honored for giving me this platform to speak to you. And I wish you all the very best. Your success is so vital to the country and to the democratic process. So thank you very much. And may I also take this opportunity to thank Ms. Nusrat Naheem for very kindly, very efficiently liaising with me, and also for Mr. Samantha from the Commissioner General's office for his kind assistance. Thank you so very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam. Madam, we'd like to have for a while on stage, please. To give away the token of appreciation to our keynote speaker today, Dr. Nelam Deepika Vragama, we invite Ms. Anusuya Sanmuganathan, member of the Election Commission of Sri Lanka. To assist her, we call upon Mr. Samantha Jayasinghe, Deputy Commissioner of Elections. Please be on stage. For her commitment and presence, and for the excellent keynote speech. We present this token of appreciation to Dr. Nelam Deepika Vragama, the Chair Professor of Law, University of Peradeniya. Thank you, Madam. Ladies and gentlemen, the ongoing important symposium is continuing in this format, and we are opening up the stage now, right now with the most important aspect, that is to listen and weave and contribute with our thoughts in terms of the parameters of understanding of the research purpose submitted to this 2025 symposium organized by the Election Commission of Sri Lanka. Research paper presentation segment number 1. The session chair, Dr. M. Ganeshamurthy. Put your hands together and extend your warmest greetings to Mr. Ganeshamurthy. In the meantime, there are 2 important presenters today to make their research papers. And the first of its kind coming right now live on stage. We call upon Amir Faiz, Attorney at Law, Independent Professional, Election Commission of Sri Lanka.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much for the invitation to chair this session. So we are half an hour behind the schedule. So therefore, I don't want to introduce any myself or the candidate, the presenter. So let's start straight away the presentation. So we will be able to go for a more productive discussion after the presentation. So he is our first presenter, Mr. Amir Wais. Is attended law over the 3 decades and is a well-known person and also closely working as a member of the Election Commission of Sri Lanka. And he's talking about a very, very important topic, upholding electoral integrity, fortifying independence of Sri Lanka's Election Commission as a guarantor institution. Let's listen to his presentation.
In order to save time, let me try to quickly run through the script rather than speaking to myself. I stand here today not as a representative of the Election Commission, but as a thinking citizen and a researcher on governance. I speak today not to assert authority, but to reflect honestly and collaboratively on the challenges and the possibilities before us. The research question that I chose to do: free and fair elections form one of the key cornerstones of our constitutional democracy. The credibility of elections depends profoundly on the institutional independence and accountability of the Election Commission. Yet, we know independence can be fragile and often contested. It can be undermined not only by overt interference, but also by procedural dependency, by acquiescing to traditional government employee mindset, by delays in finance, or by the absence of clear legal pathways to act decisively. Our task, therefore, is to understand how to strengthen that independence administratively, conceptually, financially, and legally. This is not to externalize the obstacles merely to the structures and processes that shape electoral independence. The very people who man the structures shape and are in turn shaped by them too. This we call the attitudinal aspect of institution. However, my focus is mainly on the structural and procedural elements with the underlying convictions that better, free and independent environment foster free and independent minds. So the focus here is to look at how the role of the Election Commission can strengthen as a key guarantor institution of constitutional vision of Sri Lanka as a democratic republic. World over, academics and practitioners are talking about democratic backsliding. This means weakening of institutions' democracy to withstand the pressure from forces of populism, ethno-religious majoritarianism, or neoliberal capital flows. While we see these trends world over, such processes do not happen without protest or resistance. People who uphold the value of democracy resist, and the emergence of the fourth pillar of government testifies to this. Traditionally, we talk about 3 branches. They are legislature, the executive, and the judiciary. However, increasingly, safeguarding democracy, of which electoral integrity is a key element and perhaps the most important one, has happened through developing what has been termed the guarantors branch. Our own constitutional scholars of international repute, including our keynote speaker, Dr. Deepika Udagama, and Dinesha Samararatna, to mention a couple of names, as well as other international luminaries such as Mark Tashnett and Tarunab Khaitan, have theorized the emergence of the fourth branch of government as a set of guarantor institutions whose purpose is to protect democracy from within the state. These institutions, for instance, the election commissions, the Human Rights Commission, the audit officers, anti-corruption entities are designed to stand between political power and the citizen. Their purpose is to separate these key functions of democracy sufficiently safeguarded against the influence of other branches of government, particularly the executive and the legislature. Excuse me. In this sense, the Sri Lankan Election Commission is not merely an administrative body that counts votes. It's a constitutional safeguard, a guarantor institution responsible for ensuring that the process of representation itself remains legitimate. That role demands not neutrality in the sense of silence, but neutrality in the sense of fairness, courage, and transparency. But ideals alone do not guarantee independence of institution or integrity of elections. Over the years, we have seen at least 4 recurring threats to the Commission's autonomy. To set them out briefly, the first one is financial dependence. When release of budgeted funds is controlled by the executive, operational independence becomes conditional. We experienced this directly in 2023 when the local government elections were compelled to be postponed indefinitely after funds were withheld. Even though Parliament had approved the expenditure, the Commission could not proceed without Treasury sanction, despite Supreme Court directing the Treasury to release funds, if I may add. That single episode illustrated how administrative discretion can undermine constitutional duty. The second threat is legal ambiguity. Our constitutional text affirms independence, but various enabling statutes still tie the Commission to ministerial regulations in ways that dilute that principle. The third issue is our dependence on the Attorney General for legal representation. By constitutional design, Mr. Ratnayaka is smiling because that has been one of my co-agitations in the Commission. By constitutional design, the Attorney General represents the state, once regarded as the chief law officer of the state. But over time, the role has shifted. The Attorney General is now seen more as chief law officer of the government. I'm being charitable. And when the Commission's interpretation of the Constitution and other relevant laws differs from that of the executive, it becomes difficult or even impossible for the same officer to represent both sides fairly. And finally, there is operational dependence. Each national poll requires nearly 300,000 officials, teachers, police officers, public administrators, postal department workers, government printer, drawn from other services. Their temporary assignment gives us reach and efficiency, no doubt, but it also means the Commission's authority is in practice mediated through other institutions that have their own chains of command. These 4 forms of dependency, financial, legal, procedural, and operational, constitute the real terrain on which independence is tested and evolves. Before going into discussion on them, I would also touch on an element that currently impacts the very principle of electoral integrity. That is, the political maneuvering that certain constitutional provisions leave open for the government of the day to influence elections according to its wish and the perceived advantage. We have seen elections being held in a scattered manner to influence electoral outcomes by converting incumbency into electoral advantage, such as through mobilization, access to airtime, and executive actions. Or if you look at the trend of governments sequencing elections to their game using various legal possibilities left open by constitution and other laws. This is akin to letting the students decide when they want to do their exams. Some countries have fixed term elections which specify when the election is held without leaving space for the government of the day to decide when elections should be held. In the 2023 local government election became a defining moment in that regard. The postponement was not merely an administrative matter, it was a constitutional crisis in miniature. It raised a simple but profound question: can an election be free and fair if its very occurrence depends on another branch or discretion? The Supreme Court answered part of that question in Bandara versus Sirivardhana in 2024. The court held that both executive and the commission had violated the citizens' fundamental right to franchise. That judgment was not punitive, it was clarificatory. The court stated, in terms of Article 104(b)(2), it shall be the duty of the commission to secure enforcement of all laws relating to the holding of election, and it shall be the duty of all state authorities to cooperate with the commission. After noting some of the election commission's lapses, the court stated, however, aforesaid facts indicate the failure of the commission to use its powers. It reminded us the independence is not only a shield against interference, but also a duty to act affirmatively when the right to vote is threatened. This evolving body of literature underscores the Election Commission's independence and compels the Commission to be a proactive guarantor, not a reluctant administrator. That's a powerful standard and one that we must...
Mr. Faiz, I have to interfere because your time is out. Would you be able to wind up within 1 minute?
Okay, I can only read the subheadings, and I also know that the time is of essence, and I don't want to keep... Okay. Elections is not, as everyone before had said, it's the single biggest event, a democratic event in a country. We on one particular day, we get about, at least in our country, 16 franchise. The paper, I'm also trying to talk about structural reforms, which would take some time. So it's meaningless for me to just jump from one line to the other. So I say that we need to move towards serious, significant structural reforms. I have also demonstration. I have advocated for a system where voters' registration will be open. Now we do it annually, with exception of first-time voters thrice a year. But then by closing our voter registration at a particular time, we end up disfranchising hundreds of thousands of voters. Then I have also I'm also advocating for postal and advance voting, where the ambit would be broadened. We have, in order also, that would also address inclusivity. Now we spoke about migrant workers, dual citizens, diaspora community voting. And also here, even in country, we have essential service workers as workers in healthcare, in aviation industry, in other major economic centers where lots of people work. They are also, due to the cost of traveling and voting, also they are also not incentivized from voting. Then, of course, we need to, as everyone, even in the first panel spoke, we need to think about significant digitalization of our process. I have dealt quite substantively in the paper, but unfortunately I can't, and I also don't want to be someone overriding the time limit set by the chair. Then, I also would add that in discharging our duties, proactiveness, as the Supreme Court conveyed, we also must think or take it to our consideration that excessive caution has too often been the enemy of progress. So we also need to be a little more forthright and proactive in our outreach. Although the Constitution, as I earlier adverted, Constitution has recognized us our Commission as independent, we are also hamstrung by various other legal mechanisms. We need to work on it. And I think I have also advocated that we should also have an act specifically facilitating the functions of election commission. No doubt we are guaranteed by the constitution, but it needs to be facilitated by a separate act, something like the Human Rights Commission Act or say the Shabok thing. And I have also advocated for certain quasi-judicial facility within the commission. Say, for example, this latest rejection of nominations or offences or on the campaign finance law. These can be dealt within a system within the commission. Thereby, you reduce the number of prosecution or matters referred to the police to be a very limited serious offences. So let me close with reading one line. Integrity is not bestowed by law. It is exercised and earned through conduct. Independence is not a privilege. It's an act of will and an assertion. So with that, I thank you.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Weiss. It was a very, very thought-provoking research, and also it's you have more to say, I know, but due to our time limitation, we can't allow you to more. But with that, I would like to open the floor for questions. We will take 5 minutes, which will allow 2 to 3 questions. If there are any questions, please. Okay, if there's no question, then let me ask a question.
Okay.
Okay. Now you said that there's an incident that occurred during the local government election in 2023. So Professor Deepika Uddagama said that if anyone is infringing the right of the voter, it's a crime. Isn't this a crime? And what the election commission could do about it?
Election Commission was found guilty for not doing its duty in a Supreme Court fundamental rights application. So, Election Commission could have done in the arguments, or if I recall correctly, there was a decision by the Commission to write and ask for the money, quoting the Supreme Court's. Correct me, someone, if I'm making a mistake. But there was within the Commission that we got into the Commission after the incident, and there was a recognition that we could have, in keeping with the Supreme Court's interim order directing the Secretary Treasury to release the funds, we could have also, the Election Commission could have also, for its part, could have written in an authoritative manner and demanded the release of money. Whether it would have been released or not is another question, but we could have done, that was a lapse, and that is what the Election Commission was found fault for that one.
Okay, so that would open eye-opener maybe for the future course of actions, because even if you have independent commissions, if something, overcome the finance part of it.
If I may add, before the Supreme Court decision, since the advent of this commission, I think periodically every 2 weeks or every month, we have been writing and demanding before even the Supreme Court order was made. But from the time that we took over, we have been asking. But then,
okay, so
thank you.
Any questions from the audience? It seems no question. So might be his presentation is very clear and very appropriate.
Yeah, that was half-baked, so that's why there are no questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much for wonderful question. Okay, our next presenter is going to be presenting on a topic, gamifying democracy, gamifying democratical partnership in the age of digital entertainment. It's an entertaining topic presented by Mr. Saumya Sandeepa Samarasinghe. Mr. Sandeepa is an undergraduate of the Faculty of Defence and Strategic Studies, Sir General John Kotalawala Defence University, Sri Lanka. So we would like to listen to you. The floor is yours. Sandeepo, you have 15 minutes maximum.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, distinguished delegates, scholars, policymakers, my colleagues, and ladies and gentlemen. Let me explain with a simple question. When was the last time you saw a young person reading a party manifesto with the same enthusiasm he is showing a trending TikTok challenge? That is the thing. The traditional engagement of youth in political participation has been entirely changed by the digital entertainment. This is a battle between civic duty and digital entertainment will redefine the future democracy. Today, I'm going to talk about gamifying democracy, political participation in the age of digital entertainment in the South Asia. So, for the introduction, during the past few decades, basically after the 2015, we saw a rapid, explosive rise of digital entertainment such as TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, etc. Young youth using digital entertainment to express their emotions and attitudes, feelings through digital entertainment platforms. So previously, our Dr. Kalansuya pointed out youth engagement in this, and also while youth is mostly in online, but they are not mostly participating in democratic process. This is what I'm going to explore today. For this, I'm going to I take the concept of gamification. Gamification is a strategic tool of usage of game mechanisms such as rewards, challenges, and levels. So in here we saw that gamification is it's a Western-oriented concept, but it basically using in education sector, marketing sector, and employee training sector. When we talking about the education sector, during our last year semester, we had an in-class assignment based on gamified assignment. Uh, it was a friendly competitive competition with our colleagues, and also we can talk about the gamification in marketing. Multinational competitions such as KFC also using a gamified operations to for their marketing. So in here, what I'm going to talk about, there's a ongoing debates on the how we gamify government, how we gamify democracy. That's I'm going to talk about today. So in the context of South Asian region, Sri Lanka, Pakistan, Bangladesh, we can see gamified education system, but with playing and their participations. So my research explores how gamified digital tools can convert passive online behavior into active democratic participation. This is not to talk about the changing regimes which we witnessed last few decades. Which what I'm going to talk about is this is mainly focusing on how we selected efficient and successful participation without dissatisfactions after the electoral campaigns. This is my problem statement. The traditional civic engagement in South Asia remains party-driven, hierarchical, and outdated. In our day-to-day life, we can see that people are saying, my father followed that party, so because of that, I'm following this party, and one day my son has to follow this party. In our day-to-day life, we call it, අපි නම් කැපුවත් කළු, අපි නම් කැපුවත් නිල්, අපි කැපුවත් රතු, likewise. So, additionally, we see that political leaders during the last speeches, we saw that policymakers challenges that policymakers facing with the political leaders. As Dr. Ramesh said, we need critical participations, and these gamified mechanisms, we use this to create critical participation in this democratic process in a successful manner. So in addition to that, we can show identity politics also influencing this electoral participation. Nowadays, I'm working on my undergraduate thesis. It's mainly its topic is identity politics in India, how it influenced political campaigns, how political leaders take the advantage of identity, ethnic identities to their to get the political gain of advantages to their electoral campaigns. So my research fills that gap by investigating how digital gamification can inspire, educate, and transform South Asian youth into active democratic citizens. Uh, the study had three main goals: to examine how gamification motivates youth political participation, to analyze the influence of digital entertainment on civic attitudes, to assess whether gamified approaches can reduce the disconnect between youth and institutes. Because of the time, I'm going to mainly move to the methodology. For the methodology, I use qualitative designs, case studies from India, my GOV portal, Sri Lanka's Youth for Democracy, and government reports, NGO publications, regional policy papers, etc. When it comes to analysis, I divided analysis into three main sectors. First one is gamification as a motivator for youth political participation. So, first, in Pakistan, gamified civic learning increased youth engagement by 42%, while India, my GOV platform, saw 33% rise between 2018 and 2023. With that, we can find solutions for the problems of what we are lacking of problem of constitutional awareness, political accuracy, etc. The second theme is digital entertainment and civic attitudes. Across South Asia, 78% of youth ages 18 to 30 use entertainment platform to follow politics. During the last main electoral campaigns, we saw that YouTube and Facebook, they played a major role in shaping the narratives of the people through the cartoons, animations, etc. So after 2018, Sri Lankan Election Commission and with the collaboration of Sri Lankan Election Commission and society, we started an initiative called Youth for Democracy. I think within a 6 month, it got more than 1,500 posts and reels, and under the Youth for Democracy, there were democratic ambassadors, so and so. So how do we bridging the democratic disconnection through gamified engagement? Despite strong online presence, offline participation remains low. In Pakistan, only 19% of youth who engage online join political activities offline. We saw that digital entertainment are peak in during the election times, but after the elections, what happened? After elections, it declines. So these kind of symposiums are very important to maintain that engagement throughout the year. So in 2022, we saw the Aragale in Sri Lanka, Gen Z protests in Nepal and Bangladesh, their youth participations in a negative way to destabilize the governments. But in here, we are using how to use these gamified techniques to maintain the good awareness through the young youth among the countries. These are my recommendations. So first one is develop a national civic quest gamified mobile app. During the Gen Z protests in Nepal, we saw that gaming app which is influencing and changing their mindset into that kind of chaotic situations. So after UK's My Life, My Vote, rewarding users for civic learning. As an example, US iCivic simulations like Do I Have a Right conduct a major role in shaping the narratives of young youth. The second one is integrate gamified civic education into secondary and university curricula. We can simulate the parliamentary debates and problem solving simulations during the classroom activities, and we can add the expected curriculum context into the classroom textbooks, etc. So then the third one is launch gamified digital campaigns during elections on TikTok and Instagram to mobilize first-time voters, like the US Rock the Vote initiative, increased youth voter 18% in 2022 elections, which we can use to fight misinformation campaigns and disinformation campaigns. With that, we can improve the constitutional literacy and political their awareness of political rights, so and so. The fourth one is introduce a community-based gamified engagement platforms. We can initiate these platforms in the municipal level stages, so the participant can report their local problems into these gamified platforms, and also they can suggest the solutions for these platforms. Then experts can analyze and see whether these are practical or we can implement these in a practical scenario in a island wise. So in conclusion, gamification is not merely a technological trend, it's a strategic instrument for democratic renewal. By combining civic values with the digital instinct of younger generation, we can transform distraction into the participation, to curiosity into commitment. Let me conclude with this. As we step into the age where likes and shares shape political narratives, the challenges for our democracies is clear. Make participation as engaging as a game. The players will come. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for that new kind of view from a young scholar. Good presentation. Good work. Let me open the floor for questions, if there are any. Please encourage by asking questions. The young scholars should be encouraged. Yeah. All right. You will be disappointed if there's no question, right? All right. Now you said that the what do you call, whatever the social media platforms are better used to gamifying this electoral process, etc., etc. So we have seen this process in Sri Lanka also during the Aragalia campaign and thereafter up to certain level. And this will take both positive and negative territories. Now, positive way also, you can view this from a positive point of view, but these games, our gaming approach or social media approach, most of them, don't you think that they are moving in the negative territory also? How do you overcome that?
Yes, there are both negative and positive approaches of this gamifying. So it's the in the last few years we saw the negative side of these gamifying campaigns with regarding to these protests. But in the case of how we use this gamifying in a good positive way, is we have to monitor this until from the top of the election commission to ground to the ground level. So there should, for that there should be a good monitoring coordination for the how these uh, mechanisms are conducting among the youth, and also there should be a very good connection with the election commission to with experts to see what are the problems and how they are suggesting solutions for that. Then as soon as they anyone can sending their problems to these platforms, and they also can given the solutions for this by themselves. But it is we cannot implement it around the country, so we need clear monitoring and expert uh, interference with that to analyze whether these are practical, or whether these can practically implement or not.
Okay. Consider these in things in your undergraduate research. Because there is a negative aspect also. If you are undermining the negative aspect, your research will be lopsided. So I congratulations, I wish you all the best in your undergraduate degree completion, and also take this concept forward and do further research.
Thank you, sir.
Any other questions from the audience? Please.
Well, thank you very much. I just ventured forth to ask the question because we here speak of making education democratic, and these young researchers are not, no, when there are no questions, they feel discouraged. So it's a very interesting, idea that you put forward. It's very true that those of us who are from the teaching profession, from various disciplines, we recognize we have to understand the young people and the way they learn and so on. Who do you expect to provide this sort of gamified lessons, so to speak, to the youth? Because there'll be a variety of actors, right? And you can't control them. There's no way that you can monitor, control. There will be various messages. But the point is, and this is something I think we need to discuss about artificial intelligence and its use also, where does the young mind find the fundamental principles of anything? Because if you only rely on TikTok and I don't know what are the other platforms, Instagram and so on, to to fashion your whole life, so I see a weakness there. What are your thoughts on that? Don't you think there ought to be, this is why I'm saying school education, etc., should lay that foundation, and then when you use TikTok or Instagram, you can use your judgment. But there's bound to be a variety of messages.
As ma'am says, there is no, it is so hard to manage that everything when we are dealing with the social media. So I think there should be need and clear involvement from the initiative departments, from like anyone. I want to create a gamified app, and everyone can. It is not like I want to create an mechanism of gaming mechanisms and create. I want to create a community, and so anyone can join with my community, and I am spreading so much of different kind of narratives among them. That is not what I am talking about, because that is the root case for the protest what we witnessed in during the last few decades. Because people, as mentioned earlier, Telegram, they created groups in Telegrams, and chatting with different kind of narratives against governments. But I mean, in my context, I'm mainly emphasizing that we should implement with a specific and governmental based mechanisms uh, to government basis with the collaboration of IT sector. So with that we can create a better platforms, and with the great monitoring with continuous monitoring with the IT section, we can find some to some extent of, I'm not talking about we can control each and everything, at least to some extent of controlling them.
Thank you. Thank you for those question and answer session. Thank you, Professor,
Thank
for
you, sir.
asking that question,
Thank you,
because
ma'am.
we should encourage the young youth. And I also give him a round of applause because he's a very young fellow, taking a kind of a courage to present the paper here. Thank you so much. And that makes the end of this session.
Thank you, sir. That was Dr. M. Ganeshamurthy, who is the session chair of the very first session in terms of presenting the research purpose. We witnessed two presenters made their presentation, and the second presentation was done by Soumya Sandeep Samarasinghe, an undergraduate of General Sir John Kotharavala Defense University. The topic really highlighted a fact called entertainment, which was underscored by, once again, Dr. M. Ganeshamurthy. And I'm relating that fact item over here on stage. That is going to be an entertainment item, ladies and gentlemen, performed by school students under the name Team Rudra Since 24, a musical performance. Put your hands together and welcome the performance. Divaharan Thamodaran, John Yasavant Ashok Kumar, Achudan Hevazan Shakeshan. That was a fantastic performance by Team Rudra since 24. මේ මැතිවරණ කාර්යාලය කොමසාරිස් කාර්යාලය සම්බන්ධයෙන් කතා කරනකොට මේ කාලාත්මක දේවල් හරිමහා විනෝදාත්මකව ඉදිරිපත් කරන අවස්ථා අපිට තියෙනවා. මට පෞද්ගලිකම මේ අත්දැකීමක් තියෙනවා. මහින්ද දේශප්‍රිය කොමසාරිස්තුමා කලකට පෙර ඒ ධූරිය දරන කාලේ මා කරපු වැඩසටහනකට අඩතුරුව එතුමාට යන්න තිබුණේ මේ සංවිධානය කළ චිත්‍රපට සම්දර්ශනයකට සහභාගී වෙන්න. එතකොට එතුමා කිව්වා මේ මාධ්‍යවේදීන් ඇවිල්ලා කොමසාරිස්තුමා දැන් හදිස්සියේ කොහෙද යන්න යන්නේ? ආහා මගෙන් අහන්න එපා. නැත්තම් කියයි මැකෝ චිත්‍රපටි පෙන්වනවා කියලා. ඔන්න ඔහොමයි කිව්වේ ඒ කතාව. ඉතින් අද අපි මේ සංගීතය මේ අයිරින් රස විඳිනකොට ලස්සන සංගීත වැඩසටහන ටිකටම ගෙනින කොටත් මොනවා කියයිද දන්නේ නැහැ. කොහොම වුණත් ලස්සනයි වැඩේ. Team Rudra since 24. Students' performance. They deserve a token of appreciation, ladies and gentlemen. To give away the token of appreciation to these young students, we call upon Mr. M.H.T.D. Herath, Secretary, Election Commission of Sri Lanka. And to assist, Mr. K.J.S. Madhava, Deputy Commissioner of Elections. Please be on stage to give the token of appreciation to these youngsters, students. Performers Tibahan Thamodaran, Jahan Jasavad Ashok Kumar, Achudan Havesha, Achudan Shakesha. While we are extending the presenters and the recipients our warmest greetings, we extend our thanks to Inspector General Police, Priyantha Veerasuriya, who is making his presence right now, accepting the invitation of Election Commission. Thank you, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Research Symposium 2025 organized by the Election Commission of Sri Lanka. Up next, we are here to witness 3 more research paper presentation, and to conduct the session chair, we welcome Mr. Dr. M. Ganeshamurthy on stage. Please, sir. We are here to witness 3 more presentations presented by Sundara Mudyansalage Tikiri Kumar Jayavardhana, Development Officer of Election Commission, followed by Kanagaratham Thabalingam, Chairman, Delimitation Commission, and the third presentation going to be Badana Mudyansalage Indunil Sanjeeva Lasanta Bandara, Assistant Commissioner of Elections, Admin. Put your hands together and welcome the first presenter right now on stage.
Okay. Usually, any research event, the last hour or last hours would be more lazy and lethargic hours. It used to be, but we have given a kind of a rejuvenation by this youth, 3 young gentlemen with music and a lot of enthusiasm. So we'll start the session with fresh memories and also new. And we have a presenter here. So Mr. Tikiri Kumar Jayavardhana is a full-time wheelchair user and dedicated advocate for disability rights. And he is going to present on a topic, an explanatory study on the use of tactile stencil frame introduced by the Election Commission to ensure secrecy of voting by visually impaired people in individual elections. He has been looking at several elections on this regard, and he will be presenting his findings. Mr. Tikiri Kumar, please make sure you abide by the time and make use of your time, maximum possible way, your research questions and your methodology and your findings, focusing on those things. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you. අයිබෝවන් මම මගේ ඉදිරිපත් කිරීම සිංහල භාෂාවෙන් සිදු කරන්න. මම ගැන හඳුන්වා දීම ගැන මම මුලින්ම ස්තුතිවන්ත වෙනවා. presentation. මගේ පරීක්ෂණ මාතෘකාව තමයි මැතිවරණ කොමිෂන් සභාව විසින් පසුගිය මැතිවරණ වලදී දුෂ්‍යාබාධ සහිත ඡන්දදායකයන් සඳහා හඳුන්වා දුන්නා ඡන්ද පත්‍රිකාව මඟ පෙන්වන ස්පර්ශක රාමුවක් ලංකාවේ ප්‍රථම වතාවට දුෂ්‍යාබාධ සහිත තැනැත්තන්ට තනිවම ඡන්දය සලකුණු කරන්න අවස්ථාවක් ලබා දුන්නා. ඉතින් ඒක ඊටාම වැදගත්. ඉතින් මේ කරපු කාර්ය කොහොමද දුෂ්‍යාබාධ සහිත තැනැත්තන්ට කොතරම් දුරට තමන්ගේ ප්‍රජාතන්ත්‍රවාදය සහ තමන්ගේ ඡන්දය රහස්‍යභාවයෙන් යුක්තව ප්‍රකාශ කරන්න කොතරම් දුරට වැදගත් වුණාද මෙම ඡන්ද පත්‍රිකාව මඟ පෙන්වන ස්පර්ශක රාමුව තවත් සංවර්ධනය කරන්න නැත්නම් වැඩි දියුණු කරන්න නම් මොන වගේ ප්‍රවේශයන්ද අපි ගන්න ඕන කියන මාතෘකාව තමයි මම මගේ පරීක්ෂණයේදී භාවිතා කරේ. මේකෙදි විශේෂයෙන්ම මම බැලුවේ භාවිතා කරන්නම්. ඒ කියන්නේ user perspective කෝණයෙන් තමයි මේ පරීක්ෂණ අධ්‍යයනය මම සිදු කරේ. මෙහිදී මම ගත්තේ පසුගිය පාර්ලිමේන්තු මැතිවරණය සහ ජනාධිපතිවරණය සහ 2025 තිබුණු පළාත් පාලන ආයතන ඡන්ද විමසීම කියන ඡන්ද තුනම එකතු කරලා තමයි මේ අධ්‍යයනය සිදු කරලා තියෙන්නේ. එතකොට මෙහිදී විශේෂයෙන්ම පසුබිම අඳුනා ගත්තොත් අපි දන්නවා මැතිවරණ ක්‍රියාවලිය තුළට සෑමෝටම සාමානව හා සාධාරණ විදිහට තමන්ගේ ඡන්දය ප්‍රකාශ කරන්න අවශ්‍යයක් තියෙනවා. ඒ වගේම අවුරුදු 18 සම්පූර්ණ වුණාට පස්සේ හැමෝම ඡන්ද හිමිය ඡන්දදායකයෙක් විදිහට සුසුකම් ලබනවා. එතකොට ඒ ඡන්දය රහස්‍යභාවයෙන් සහ ස්වාධීනව ප්‍රකාශ කරන්න තමන්ට අයිතියක් තියෙනවා. එතකොට ඒ අයිතිය ආරක්ෂා කිරීමට ගත්තු උත්සාහයක් විදිහට තමයි මැතිවරණ කොමිෂන් සභාව මේ ස්ටෙන්සිල් රාමුව නැත්නම් ස්පර්ශක රාමුව හඳුන්වා දුන්නේ. එතකොට මේ ස්පර්ශක රාමුව ඒ ප්‍රජාවට දුෂ්ටාබාධ සහිත ප්‍රජාවට කොතරම් දුරට වැදගත් වුණාද සහ ඒ භාවිතා කිරීම තුළින් කොතරම් දුරට ඔවුන්ගේ ඡන්දයේ රහස්‍යභාවයෙන් ප්‍රකාශ කරන්න හැකියාව තුනක් කියන එක තමයි මූලිකම දුන්නේ. අපි දන්නවා උදේ සෙෂන් එකේ අපි සාකච්ඡා කරා ඉස්මතු වුණු කාරණාවක් තමයි ආබාධ සහිත තැනැත්තන්ගේ අයිතිවාසිකම් පිළිබඳව එක්සත් ජාතීන්ගේ ප්‍රඥප්තිය 29 වෙනි වගන්තියේ පැහැදිලිව සඳහන් කරලා තියෙනවා මේ දේශපාලන සහභාගීත්වයට ඇති අයිතිය. ඒකේ එහි තියෙන ඒ වගන්තිය පැහැදිලිව කියනවා ඒ ඡන්ද ක්‍රියාවලිය තුළට නවෝත්පාදන සහ නව තාක්ෂණික යෙදවුම් භාවිතා කරන්න සහ හඳුන්වා දෙන්න අවශ්‍යයි කියන එක. ඉතින් ඒකේ ගත්තු එක්තරා ආකාරයක මැදිහත් වීමක් විදිහට අපිට මේ ස්පර්ශක රාමුව හඳුන්වා දීම සහ එය භාවිතා කිරීමට අවස්ථාව ලබා දීම හඳුන්වා දෙන්න පුළුවන්. ඊට අමතරව අපි දන්නවා මෙම මෙතුවක් කල් අපිට තිබුණු භාවිතාව තමයි දුෂ්ටාබාධ සහිත තැනැත්තෙකුට තනිවම ඡන්දය සලකුණු කරන්න හැකියාවක් තිබුණේ නැහැ. තවත් කෙනෙකුගේ සහායක් අවශ්‍ය තිබුණා ඒ ඉදිරිපත් කරන්න. එතකොට ඒකේ තිබුණු ප්‍රධාන අභියෝගය තමයි ඔවුන්ගේ රහස්‍යභාවයට ප්‍රශ්නයක් තිබුණා. ඉතින් ඒ රහස්‍යභාවය සුරක්ෂිත කිරීම තමයි ඒක මේ ස්පර්ශක රාමුව හඳුන්වා දීමේ ප්‍රධාන අරමුණ. එතකොට මම මේ අධ්‍යයනයේදී ප්‍රධාන අරමුණු තුනක් ඔස්සේ තමයි කතා කරේ. එකක් තමයි මේ ස්පර්ශක රාමුව ඔවුන්ට කොතරම් දුරට තමන්ගේ ඡන්දය භාවිතා කරන්න පහසු වුණාද කියන කාරණාව. ඊළඟ කාරණාව තමයි මේ ස්පර්ශක රාමුව භාවිතා කිරීම තුළින් කොහොමද මොනවද ඔවුන්ට මුණ පාන්න ලැබිච්ච ප්‍රායෝගික අත්දැකීම සහ අපි මොනවද තිබුණු සීමාවන් චැලෙන්ජස් මොනවද කියන එක අධ්‍යයනය කිරීම මේ අරමුණක් වුණා. ඊළඟට තමයි මේ තව දුරටත් අපි වැඩි දියුණු කරගන්න සහ අනාගතයේදී ඉස්සරහට එන මැතිවරණවලදී අපි කොහොමද තව දුරටත් මේ භාවිතා කිරීමේදී අපි බලන්න ඕන කාරණා මොනවද කියන එක තමයි අධ්‍යයනය කරේ. මේම පරීක්ෂණය ඇත්තම කාර්යබහුල පරීක්ෂණයක් ගණයට තමයි අධ්‍යයනය කරේ. අපි මේ තවදුරටත් මේ වර්ධනය කරගන්න ඕන කොහොමද කියලා. අපි දල වශයෙන් ආබාධ සහිත පුජ්‍යලයන් ගත්තොත් දත්ත සම්බන්ධව ගත්තොත් 2012 තමයි අපිට තියෙන ආසන්නතම දත්ත. නමුත් යාවත් කාලින් නොවුනත් අපිට මේ පිළිබඳව යම් අදහසක් ලබා ගැනීමට මම පොඩ්ඩක් ඉදිරිපත් කරනවා මේ මගේ ප්‍රසන්ටේෂන් එකේදී. ඒකෙදී අපිට මේ පෙනීමේ අපහසුතාව තියෙන අය ලක්ෂ 10කට වඩා වැඩි සංඛ්‍යාවක් ඉදිරිපත් කරනවා. මෙය යථාර්ථයක්ද නැද්ද කියන එකට වඩා අපි බලන්න ඕන මේ පිළිබඳව අපිට අදහසක් ගන්න ඕන මේ කණ්ඩායම ගැන අපි ආමන්ත්‍රණය කිරීමට හොඳ අවස්ථාවක් විදිහට තමයි දකින්නේ. මේ පෙනීමේ අපහසුතාවයන් ගත්තම පූර්ණ දුෂ්ටාබාධ සහිත තත්වයකට එහා ගිය වැඩිහිටිභාවයේ පත්වීම නිසා යම් කිසි අපහසුතාවයක් තියෙනවා නම් අපි ඒ ගැනත් හිතන්න වෙනවා. එතකොට දුෂ්ටාබාධිත භාවය විවිධ පරාසයන් තුල අපිට හමු වෙනවා. ඉතින් ඒ පරාසය තුල තියෙන සියලුම අය කණ්ඩායම් අපිට මේ මැතිවරණ ක්‍රියාවලියේදී අතහරින්න බෑ. ඒක නිසා වුන් අපි ඇතුළත් කරගන්න ඕන. එතකොට මේකේදී අපිට තිබුණු ලොකු අභියෝගයක් තමයි දැන් මෙතුවක් තිබුණේ අපේ 2011 මැතිවරණ විශේෂ විධිවිධාන අංක 28 දරන මැතිවරණ විශේෂ විධිවිධාන පනත යටතේ අපිට තිබුණා සහායකයෙක් කැටුව යන්න ඡන්ද පොලට තමගේ ඡන්දය සලකුණු කිරීමේදී ඒකෙදී ඔවුන්ට අපිට දුෂ්ටාබාධ සහිත ප්‍රජාවකින් අපිට දිගින් දිගටම ලැබුණු දෙයක් අහන්න මතුවෙච්ච දෙයක් තමයි ඔවුන්ගේ ඡන්දය සලකුණු කිරීමේදී 3 දෙනෙක් දැනගන්නවා කියන එක. 2 දෙනෙක් දැනගන්නවා අවම වශයෙන්. සහායට යන කෙනා සහ මේ ඡන්ද පොල නිලධාරී කෙනෙක් අනිවාර්යෙන් දැනගන්නවා. ඊළඟ කාරණාව තමයි අපි ඡන්දය සලකුණු කිරීමේදී අපි ඒකට දායක උනාද කියන එක දැනගන්න මේ ලොකු අභියෝගයක්. මොකද අපිට ෆීල් වෙන්නේ නැහැ අපි මේ වැඩේට දායක උනාද කියන එක. අපි කතිරයක් ගහලා එනවා කියන එක අපිට දැනෙනවා අපි මේකට සහභාගී වුණා නේද කියන එක. නමුත් මෙතුවක් දුෂ්ටාබාධ සහිතට තැනත්තන්ට ඒක දැනුනේ නැහැ. Taman ගිහිල්ලා Taman කැමති අංකේ හරි පක්ෂේ හරි කිව්වා එතනින් ගෙදර ආවා. නමුත් ඒක දැනුනේ නැහැ. අපිට මේ හරහා උත්සාහ කරන්න තිදුණා උන්ට එය දැනෙන්න අවස්ථාව සලසා දෙන්න. ඉතින් ඒක හොඳ අවස්ථාවක් විදිහට අපි හඳුනා ගන්න. ඉතින් මේ ගැටලුවට ආමන්ත්‍රණය කිරීම තමයි මේ ස්පර්ශක රාමුවේදී ලොකුම ප්‍රවේශයක් විදිහට හඳුනාගත්තේ. ඊළඟට මම පොඩි දත්ත ටිකක් එකතු කරනවා. ගිය වර පැවැත් වූ මැතිවරණ 4ක් 2024ක් කියන්නේ 3ක් විශ්ව ප්‍රධාන වශයෙන් පැවැත්ුණා 2024 සහ 25 වර්ෂවලදී. ඒ පාර්ලිමේන්තු ජනාධිපතිවරණය ඊළඟ පළාත් පාලන ආයතන මැතිවරණ තියෙන LPT ඡන්දයක් ගිය වර්ෂයේදී තිබුණා 2024. ඊළඟට පාර්ලිමේන්තු මහ මැතිවරණය සහ පළාත් පාලන ආයතන මේ මැතිවරණ සියල්ලගෙම මේ හැම ඡන්ද පොලකටම මේ ස්පර්ශක රාමුවක් ලබලා දුන්නා මැතිවරණ කොමිෂන් සභාව විසින්. එතකොට ඒ ඡන්ද පොලට ලබා දුන්නු ඒ ස්පර්ශක රාමුව භාවිතා කර ඡන්දේ සලකුණු කිරීමට දුෂ්ටාබාධ සහිත නැත්තන්ට අවස්ථාවක් ලබා දුන්නා. එතකොට මේ ස්පර්ශක රාමුව කියවම ගොඩක් දෙනෙකුට පොඩි නුහුරු භාවයක් තියෙනවා. මොකද්ද කියලා දන්නේ නැහැ. මම පොඩ්ඩක් ඡායාරූප කිහිපයකින් මම ඉදිරිපත් කරන්න සහ මැතිවරණ කොමිෂන් සභාවේ වෙබ් අඩවියේ තියෙනවා වීඩියෝ පටයක් මේ ඒක හසුරුවන්නේ කොහොමද කියලා වීඩියෝ පටයකුත් තියෙනවා. මේකේ ස්වභාවයන් ගත්තාම ඡන්ද පත්‍රිකාවේ සමානව ඡන්ද පත්‍රිකාව මේ රාමු තුලට ඇතුළත් කරලා ඡන්දේ සලකුණු කරන ස්ථානයේ කොටු ආකාරයට ඒ අවකාශය තුල පමණක් කොටු ඉවත් කරලා එතන තමයි ඡන්දේ සලකුණු කරන්න අවස්ථාව තියෙන්නේ. දුෂ්ටාබාධ සහිත තැනැත්තන්ට මේ කොටු ස්පර්ශ කරගෙන ගණන් කරගෙන ඇවිල්ලා තමන්ගේ කැමැති තමන් පක්ෂය හෝ අංකය සලකුණු කරන්න කතිරේ ලකුණු කරන්න අවස්ථාව දීලා තියෙනවා. ඒතර අපේ රටේ තියෙන ඡන්ද ක්‍රමවේද තුලදී ඡන්ද වල ස්වභාවය අනුව ජනාධිපතිවරණයක සහ පාර්ලිමේන්තු පළාත් සභා මැතිවරණයක පළාත් පාලන ආයතන මැතිවරණයේ ඡන්ද පත්‍රිකාවන් වල ස්වභාවය වෙනස්. ඉතින් ඒට අනුකූල වෙන විදිහට මේ ස්පර්ශක රාමුව සකස් කරන්න සහ ලබා දීලා තියෙනවා. විශේෂයෙන්ම මේ පාට තීරුවකින් විශේෂයෙන්ම ඔවුන්ට ඡන්ද පත්‍රිකාව සහ මේ ඡන්දේ සලකුණු කරන ස්ථානයේ පැහැදිලිව හඳුනා ගන්න ප්‍රයෝජනවත් වෙනවා. විශේෂයෙන්ම අර්ධ දුෂ්ටාබාධ සහිත තැනැත්තන්ට. අපේ රටේ විතරක් නෙවෙයි මෙවැනි ස්පර්ශක රාමුලා ඡන්දේ සලකුණු කරන්න අවස්ථාව දීලා තියෙනවා. විශේෂයෙන්ම කෙන්යාව, තුර්කිය සහ අපේ ආසන්නතම රටක් වෙන මාලදිවයිනත් මේ වගේ රාමු භාවිතා කරමින් ඡන්දේ සලකුණු කරනවා. එතකොට මම මේ අධ්‍යයනයේදී මික්ස් මෙතඩ් එකක් මිශ්‍ර ක්‍රමවේදයක් තමයි මම පාවිච්චි කරේ. ගුණාත්මක දත්ත සහ ප්‍රමාණාත්මක දත්ත ලබා ගත්තා. එතකොට මම මේකෙදී සාම්පල් එක විදිහට ගත්තා 100 දෙනෙක් දුෂ්ටාබාධ සහිත තැනැත්තන් මේ ඡන්ද පත්‍රිකාව ස්පර්ශක රාමුව භාවිතා කරලා ඡන්ද සලකුණු කරපු කණ්ඩායම් අතරින් ඒකෙදි දිස්ත්‍රික්ක 10ක් තමයි ආවරණය කරේ. එතකොට ඒකේ පිරිමි අය 54 දෙනෙකුත් කාන්තාවන් 46 දෙනෙකුත් වෙන විදිහට තමයි සාම්පල් එක තෝරාගත්තේ. එතකොට දුෂ්ටාබාධ සහිත අය අතරින් පූර්ණ දුෂ්ටාබාධිත ඒ කියන්නේ B1 කැටගරි එක 36 දෙනෙකුත් B2 අර්ධ දුෂ්ටාබාධිත සහිත අය 35 දෙනෙකුත් B3 29 දෙනෙකුත් විදිහට තමයි මේ මගේ සාම්පල් එක මම තෝරාගත්තේ. එතකොට මම මේක සඳහා ප්‍රශ්නාවලියකින් තමයි මේ ප්‍රශ්න දත්ත රැස් කරේ. ඒකේ මම කාරණා 7ක් ආවරණය කරා. එකක් තමයි ඡන්ද පත්‍රිකා මග පෙන්වන ස්පර්ශක රාමුවේ තියෙන රාමුව ගැන දැනුවත්භාවය, ඒකේ තියෙන ස්වභාවය, ඊට පස්සේ ඒකේ තියෙන ඡන්ද භාවිතා කිරීමේදී තියෙන පහසුව, ඊට පස්සේ කාර්ය මණ්ඩලයේ සහ ස්ටාෆ් එකේ සපෝට් එක, ඊළඟට එහි තියෙන අභියෝගතා සහ අපහසුතාවයන් මෙන්ම ඒ තමන්ට ලැබිච්ච සැටිස්ෆැක්ටරි තෘප්තිමත් භාවය සහ ඊළඟට ඉදිරියේදී යෝජනා කරන යෝජනාවන්. ඒකෙදි විශේෂයෙන්ම අඳුනාගත්තු මට ලැබෙන තියෙන කාලය අවසන් වේගෙන එනවා. නමුත් මම මගේ හඳුනා ගැනීම මම කෙටියෙන් පැහැදිලි කරන්න. එකක් තමයි මේ මොවුන්ගේ ලැබිච්ච දත්ත අනුව තිබුණේ ඇත්තට මේ පිළිබඳව ඔවුන්ට ලොකු උනන්දුවක් තිබුණා සහ ඔවුන් පළවෙනි වතාවට තෘප්තිමත් වුණා ජීවිතේට. තමන් පළවෙනි වතාවට ඡන්දේ සලකුණු කරා, තමන්ගේ අතින් සලකුණු කරන්න අවස්ථාවක් ලැබීම ගැන ඔවුන් ප්‍රශංසා කළා පළවෙනි වතාවට. ඒක ලොකු අචීව්මන්ට් එකක් විදිහට දකිනවා. මොකද මෙතුවක් කල් කවදාවත් ජීවිතේට ඡන්දේ සලකුණු කිරීමට අවස්ථාවක් ලැබුණේ නැති කට්ටිය ඡන්දේ සලකුණු කරා අතින් ඒගොල්ලන්ට මේ ස්පර්ශක රාමුව භාවිතා කරගෙන. ඒකෙදි එකක් අභියෝගයක් මතුවිතු කාරණාවක් තමයි මේ පිළිබඳව දැනුවත්භාවය තිබුණේ නැහැ. ගොඩ දෙනෙක්ගේ කාර්ය අපේ ඡන්දපොළ නිලධාරීන්ගේ කාර්ය මණ්ඩල දැනුවත් වීම තියෙන අඩුයි කියන එක ඉස්මතු වුණා. ඒ කියන්නේ තාමත් අපි අඳුන්වා දීලා ලොකු කාල සීමාවක් නැති නිසා අපේ මැතිවරණ ක්‍රියාවලිය තුළට මෙය අලුත් අත්දැකීමක් විදිහට ඉස්මතු වෙලා තියෙනවා. ඒක තව ටිකක් කාලයක් යනකොට ඒක සාමාන්‍යීකරණය වෙනවා. එතකොට ඒ හරහා ලොකු දැනුවත් භාවයක් ඇති වෙනවා. ඉතින් අර දැනුවත් වීම තවදුරටත් පුළුල් කරන්න ඕන කියන එක තමයි ඊළඟට මතුවෙච්ච කාරණාව. තවත් කාරණාවක් තමයි ඇතරම මේ නම්බර්ස් සහ ඒ කියන්නේ ඡන්දෙන් ඡන්දට තියෙන ක්‍රමවේද ගොඩක් වෙනස්. ජනාධිපති වර්ණයක තියෙනවා. ඊට පස්සේ පාර්ලිමේන්තු මැති වර්ණයක පක්ෂ සහ මනාපත් සලකුණු කරන්න තියෙනවා. ඉතින් ඒව ගැන තවදුරටත් මේ දුෂ්‍යාබාධ සහිත තැනැත්තන්ට තියෙන දැනුවත්භාවය වැඩි කරන්න ඕන. අපි මේක හඳුන්වා දෙන්න කලින් මම මැතිවරණ කොමිෂන් එකේ වැඩි කරන නිසා මේ අපි හඳුනාගත්තු දෙයක් තමයි දුෂ්‍යාබාධ සහිත තැනැත්තට කතිරය පිළිබඳව අදහසකුත් නැති තරම්. මොකද උපතින්ම දුෂ්‍යාබාධ සහිත කෙනෙකුට කතිරයක් කියන එක දන්නේම නැහැ. අපි යාගේ අතේ ඇඳලා පෙන්වන්න ඕනි කතිරය කියන්නේ මෙන්න මේ හැඩේ දෙයක් කියන එක අපිට පෙන්වන්න ඒ දැනුවත් වීමම එතනින් පටන් ගන්න වෙලා තියෙනවා. ඒක නිසා අපි තවදුරටත් මේ දැනුවත් කිරීම පුළුල් කරන්න අවශ්‍ය වෙලා තියෙනවා. ඊළඟට තමයි මේකේ ඩිසයින් එක සහ ඇත්තටම ගත්තොත් මේක සරල කාඩ්බෝඩ් වලින් සකස් කරපු දෙයක්. ඒක නිසා මේ රජයේ මුද්‍රණාලයෙන් තමයි මේක නිර්මාණය කරේ. ඉතින් මං හිතන්නේ ඒක අඩු වියදමකින් අපිට කරන්න පුළුවන් හොඳ ඇචීව්මන්ට් එකක්. විශේෂයෙන්ම අපි තියෙන නීති රීති කොතර දුර තිබුණත් ඒව කොහොමද අපේ ප්‍රායෝගිකත්වයට ගැලපෙන්නේ කියන එකට හොඳ උදාහරණයක් විදිහට කියලා මේ ඉස්මතු වුණා මේ පරීක්ෂණයේදී. ඊළඟට මම විශේෂයෙන්ම කියන්නම් කාරණා ගොඩක් තියෙනවා. නමුත් මම කෙටියෙන් කාරණා වැදගත් කාරණා කීපයක් මම කියන්නම්. ඊළඟට අපිට මේ තවදුරටත් ඉදිරි මැතිවරණවලදී භාවිතා කරනවා නම් අපිට අවශ්‍යයි ඇත්තටම කාර්ය මණ්ඩලයේ මැතිවරණ කාර්ය මණ්ඩලය දැනුවත් කරන්න. ඒ සඳහා මාධ්‍ය හරහා ලොකු දායකත්වයක් ලබා ගන්න අවශ්‍යයි. ඒ හසුරුවන ආකාරය ඊළඟට දුෂ්‍යාබාධ සහිත පවුල්වල සහ මේක සාමාන්‍යකරණය කරන්න අපිට ලොකු උනන්දු මහන්සියක් ගන්න සිද්ධ වෙනවා. ඊළඟට අපිට අර ගෙදරට යවන ඡන්ද දවසට කලින් යවන මනාප ඒ කියන්නේ තමන්ගේ මේ ප්‍රදේශ ඉදිරිපත් වෙන අපේක්ෂකයන් සහ ඒ දේශපාලන පක්ෂ පිළිබඳව තොරතුරු අපි ඔවුන්ට పూర్ව දැනුවත් කිරීම තවදුරටත් කරන්න ඕන. විශේෂයෙන් බ්‍රේල් මාධ්‍යයෙන් වගේ ආයතන බ්‍රේල් මාධ්‍ය වලින් වගේ අපිට ලබා දෙන්න සිද්ධ වෙනවා. ඊට එහෙම නැත්නම් අපිට ඩිජිටල් තාක්ෂණය හරහා තවදුරටත් ඒක වොයිස් ආකාරයට හඬපට ආකාරයට අපිට ලබා දෙන එක දුෂ්‍යාබාධ සහිත අයට මේ ඡන්ද පොලට එන්න කලින් තමන් මේ අපේක්ෂකයන් සහ ඒ දේශපාලන පක්ෂ ගැන දැනුවත් වීම වැදගත් කියන එක අඳුනාගත්තා. විශේෂයෙන්ම අවසාන වශයෙන් මම මේ කියන්න කැමැති මේ මැතිවරණ ක්‍රියාවලිය අන්තර්කරණය කිරීම ඉන්ක්ලූසිව් ඉලෙක්ෂන් කියන සංකල්පයට ඉතාමත්ම හොඳ ප්‍රගති ගාමි ක්‍රියාකාරකමක් විදිහට තමයි මේක ඔවුන් තුලින් අපිට මතුවෙච්ච කාරණා විදිහට හඳුන්වා දෙන්න පුළුවන්. ඊළඟට තමයි තමන්ගේ ඡන්දය රහස්‍යභාවය සලකන්න විශේෂයෙන්ම රීසනබල් ඇකොමඩේෂන් අපි කතා කරනවා. සාධාරණ ඉඩකඩ සාධාරණ ඉඩකඩ ඡන්ද පොලේදී සකස් කරන්න නම් මෙන්න මේ වගේ නවෝත්පාදන වැඩපිළිවෙළවල් තවදුරටත් අත්හදා බලමින් පරීක්ෂණ කරමින් ඒවා යූසර්ට ගැළපෙන ආකාරය කොහොමද කියන එක අපි හොයන්න ඕන. ඒක ප්‍රධාන දෙයක් විදිහට දකිනවා. අවසාන වශයෙන් ආබාධ සහිත ප්‍රජාව ගත්තොත් විවිධාකාරයේ ගැටලු සහ විවිධාකාරයේ අභියෝග අපිට ආමන්ත්‍රණය කරන්න වෙනවා. එතකොට ඒකෙදී අපි කතා කරන්නේ nothing without us about us without us කියලා. අපි නැතුව අපි ගැන තීරණ ගන්න එපා. ඉතින් ඒකදී ඔවුන්ගේ සහභාගීත්වය ගොඩක් වැදගත්. එය මැතිවරණ කොමිෂන් සභාව විශේෂයෙන්ම මේ සාරණා සඳහා සලකා බලනවා. ඉතින් මගේ පරීක්ෂණයේ සහ අධ්‍යයනයේ ප්‍රතිඵල මේ තමයි කෙටියෙන් විස්තර කරොත්. ස්තුතියි.
ඉතාමත් පැහැදිලි. Thank you so much, Mr. Tikiri Kumar Javadana, for your thought-provoking presentation. It's a new thing. Questions? Yes.
Thank you. මගේ ප්‍රශ්නය මේ ප්‍රතික්ෂේප ඡන්ද සහ අර ලියාපදිංචි වුණු ඡන්දදායකින් ඡන්ද දෙනවද කියන එක ගැන මේ දැන් ගිය අවුරුද්දේ පාර්ලිමේන්තු මැතිවරණය ගත්තොත් ප්‍රතික්ෂේප ඡන්ද ගාන මම හිතන්නේ 5.6යි අතර තව මේ ලියාපදිංචි ඡන්දදායකින්ගෙන් 60 69ක් වගේ තමයි ඡන්ද දුන්නේ. ඉතින් මගේ ප්‍රශ්නේ මේ ආබාධිත තැනැත්තන් සහ දෘශ්‍යාබාධ අර්ථ දෘශ්‍යාබාධය තින් තැනැත්තන් අතර ඒ සංඛ්‍යාන මොන වගේද කියන එකයි අර ස්පර්ශ රාමුව මේ පාවිච්චි කරන්න පටන් ගත්තට පස්සේ ඒ සංඛ්‍යාවල වෙනසක් වෙලා තියෙනවද කියලා මොන හරි අධ්‍යයනයක් කළා තියෙනවද නැත්නම් අනාගතයේ අධ්‍යයනයක් කරන්න බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවද කියන එක ගැන තමයි අහන්න කැමති වුණේ.
ඔව් ඇත්තට ඒ ප්‍රශ්නෙට කියන්නේ එහෙම අපිට හඳුනා ගන්න හැකියාවක් ලැබෙන්නේ නැහැ. සියලුම ඡන්ද පත්‍රිකා සියල්ලම ඡන්ද පෙට්ටියට දැම්මම පස්සේ එක හා සමානයි. නමුත් මෙම ස්පර්ශක රාමුව හඳුන්වා දුන්නට පස්සේ ප්‍රතික්ෂේප වෙන ඡන්ද ප්‍රමාණය අඩු වීමේ වෙයි කියලා අපි උපකල්පනය කරනවා. මොකද මෙම ස්පර්ශක රාමුව තියෙන කොටු වල සීමාවෙන් එහාට යන්න හැකියාවක් නැහැ වුන් සලකුණු කරන කතිරය. එතකොට කතිරේ හෝ ඉලක්කම ඒ සීමා. මොකද අපි දන්නවා දැන් දුෂ්‍යාබාධ සහිත තැනැත්තන්ට විතරක් නෙවෙයි චලනාබාධයක් තියෙන අත හරියට ක්‍රියාකාරී නොවන කට්ටියත් ඒ උපරිම උත්සාහ කරනවා වුන් ඡන්දේ සලකුණු කරන්න. එතකොට මේ වගේ එක භාවිතා කිරීමෙන් Tamante තියෙන සීමාව තුල අවල මේ ප්‍රතික්ෂේප වීමේ ප්‍රවණතාවය අඩුයි. ඔබතුමා ප්‍රශ්නෙට අපිට එහෙම හැකියාවක් නැහැ මේ අපිට බලන්න සහ එම ගණන් කිරීමට ගණන් කරනකොට මොකද මේක මේ ඡන්දය සලකුණු කරේ දුෂ්‍යාබාධිත කෙනෙක් මේ කරේ එහෙම බලන්න හැකියාවක් නැහැ. එතකොට එතනදීම අපිව එයාව ලේබල් කරනවා. ඔකට විශේෂයෙන් මෙහෙනම් අපිට අර ඡන්ද පත්‍රිකාව බ්‍රේල් වලින් දෙන්න පුළුවන්. ඒක කරන්න අපිට අභියෝගයක් තියෙන්නේ. එතකොට ඡන්ද ගණන් කරන තැනදී අර බ්‍රේල් ඡන්ද පත්‍රිකාව කරේ දුෂ්‍යාබාධිත සහිත කෙනෙක් කියන එක අපිට එතනදී ඔහුගේ රහස්‍යභාවය අපිට අපි ආරක්ෂා නොකරනවා කියන එක තමයි එතන අපේ තියෙන හැඟීම. අරකදී අපිට වළංගු වෙන ප්‍රතිශතය ගැන මට අදහසක් එහෙම කියන්න අපහසුයි ඒක.
බොහොම හොඳයි. ටිකර් කුමාර මහත්මයා මේ වෙන ප්‍රශ්නයක් අහන්නද? තව උපාධි කීයක් කරන්න බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවද?
වගේ මාස්ටර්ස් ඩිග්‍රී කරන්න බලාපොරොත්තු.
ඔව් සෝෂියොලොජි වල කරනවා, ආකියොලොජි කරලා තියෙනවා, බ්‍රේල් පැත්ත කරලා තියෙනවා. තව ටෙක්නොලොජි පැත්ත එකක් කරා නම් මේකට හොඳයි. තව ප්‍රශ්න මොනවාද තියෙනවද? හරි, බෙහෙම ස්තුතියි. Thank you so much, ටිකර් කුමාර. Wish you all the best. So with that, I will invite the next presenter. Next presenter is Dr. Kanagaratnam Thavalingam. He is a current chairman of Delimitation Commission of Sri Lanka. So no need further introduction. I would invite him. The floor is yours, sir.
Good afternoon, everybody. My presentation is, it is easy because this morning and afternoon we discussed a lot of contents in my presentation. So I will go very fast. So time is all sleeping time. So I will go very fast. I request them to forward my slides every 20 seconds. So I will make it a little fun and talk with a little one. You know, we got our, sorry, I have to talk in Tamil because my presentation should be in Tamil. Yes. If I give some salt to you, eat. You will not eat because not taste. If I give rice without salt, you will not eat. So you know the importance of the salt. Like that, Tamil language also is very important. That is why our Consul General asked me to speak in Tamil. So I will speak in Tamil. 1910 ஆண்டில் இலங்கைக்கு வாக்குரிமை கிடைத்தது. ஆனால் பெண்களுக்கு கிடைக்கவில்லை. அவர்கள் மிகவும் கஷ்டப்பட்டு பல போராட்டங்கள் செய்துதான் 1927 ஒரு கூட்டுறவு சங்கத்தை நியமித்து 1931ஆம் ஆண்டு அவர்களுக்கு வாக்குரிமை கிடைத்தது. இப்போத்த காலத்தில் எல்லோருக்கும் வாக்குரிமை எல்லா நாடுகளும் இருக்கு, ஒரு சில நாடுகள் தவிர. இந்த பின்னரம் கூறியது போல உலகத்திலே இப்பொழுது 27.2% பெண்கள் பாராளுமன்றத்திலே இருக்கிறார்கள். 1995ஆம் ஆண்டில் இது கிட்டத்தட்ட 11% தான் இருந்தது. இலங்கையை பொறுத்தளவில் 1924ஆம் ஆண்டு வரையில் 5.4% இருந்தது. 24ஆம் ஆண்டு தேர்தலுக்கு பின் அது 9.8 மாறியது. இதற்கு காரணம் என்ன என்பதை பின்னர் நான் வழங்கப்படுத்துகின்றேன். ஏன் எங்கள் பெண்கள் அரசியலில் ஈடுபடவில்லை என்று கூறினால் அதற்கு பல காரணங்கள் இருக்கின்றன. பெண்கள் வீட்டுக்குள்ளே அடைக்கப்பட வேண்டும். இப்போதைய சமுதாயம் கூட அப்படியான நோக்கத்தோடு இருக்கிறது. அவர்கள் வீட்டு வேலைகள் மட்டும்தான் செய்ய வேண்டும். அது மட்டுமல்ல, அவர்களுக்கு பல துன்புறுத்தல்கள் ஏற்படலாம். பெண்கள் வெளியில் வந்தால் அவர்களின் பழக்க வழக்கங்கள் சரியில்லை என்ற நோக்கங்கள் இருக்கின்றன. அப்படியான பல காரணங்களினால் அவர்களுக்கு வாக்குரிமை கிடைக்கவில்லை. பெண்கள் தேர்தலில் போட்டியிடுவதில்லை. ஏனெனில் எங்கள் அரசியல் கலாச்சாரம் துவக்கோடு துவங்குவது ஆன முறையில் அவர்களுக்கு எந்த ஒரு காரணத்தாலும் வாக்குரிமையாக கேட்பதற்கும் அவர்கள் மன்னிக்கவும் பாராளுமன்ற தேர்தல் போட்டியிடுவதை அவர்கள் பொதுவாக விரும்புவதில்லை. எத்தனோ சட்டங்கள் இருக்கின்றன. இந்த வாக்குரிமை அவளுக்கு கொடுத்து பெண்களின் சம உரிமைகள் கொடுக்கப்பட்டிருந்தும் அவர்கள் முன்னுக்கு வருவதில்லை. இந்த பின்னர பேச்சாளர் தீபக உடகமா கூறியது போல பெண்களுக்கு இன்றைய நிலையில் 9.5-10% இலங்கையில் பாராளுமன்றத்தில் இருக்கிறார்கள். ஆனால் பார்ட்டி வைஸ் பார்ட்டியில் உள்ள அவர்களுக்குரிய துன்புறுத்தல் சொல்வதிலும் பார்க்க முன்னிலைப்படுத்துவது, போட்டியிடுவதற்காக முன்னிலைப்படுத்துவது குறைந்த அளவில் தான் காணப்படுகிறது. ஏனெனில் அவர்களை பயன்படுத்துவது பிரசாரம் செய்யவும் பணத்தை சேகரிக்கவும் தான். அவர்கள் போட்டியிட விரும்பினாலும் அவர்களை போட்டியிட வைப்பதில்லை. இலங்கை அரசியலில் ஆரம்பத்தில் பெண்கள் பாராளுமன்றத்துக்கு நுழைந்தது அரசியல் பின்புலம் காரணமாக. முதலாவதாக அட்லின் மோல்முரே என்பவர் தகப்பனார் இறந்த பின் இடைத்தேர்தல் மூலம் பாராளுமன்றத்துக்கு வந்தார். அதைத் தொடர்ந்து ஒரு வருடத்துக்குள் நேசம் சரவணமுத்து அவரின் தகப்பனாரின் பின்புலத்தினால் பாராளுமன்றத்துக்குள் நுழைத்தார். இதன் பின் 1947ஆம் ஆண்டு தேர்தலில் 3 போட்டியிட்டு புளோரன்ஸ் சென்னாய்க்கா மட்டும் பாராளுமன்றத்தில் தெரிவு செய்யப்பட்டார். அதன் பின் நடந்த 2 இடைத்தேர்தல்களில் தெரிவு செய்யப்பட்ட 2 பெண்கள் இருக்கிறார்கள். அதன் பின் சிறிமாவு பண்டாரக்கா வந்தால், அதன் பின் சந்திரிகா குமாரதுங்கா வந்தால், இப்படி பலரும் வந்து இப்பொழுது எங்கள் தலைவியாக பிரமரதாக இருப்பது ஒரு பெண் பாதி. Yes, this is my talk. I already summarized. I have 4 minutes. I can talk something else. You see, we are boomers, baby boomers. We don't allow you to come forward. Ladies, young ladies think that boomers not allow you to come forward. They expect you to be at home because we are boomers. So, you see, 15 years back, Indian women cricket, Mr. Srinivasan was the BCCI president. He said, no women for cricket. Today, they are the people world champion. So, last year, we won the Asia champion. Young ladies, think, if any boomers or old people say something to you, don't go into the politics, say, okay, boomers. This is a famous phrase in the world. okay, boomers. So use that word. You go front. You see, up to 2024, our parliament had only 5% of women members. Why it went up to 10% or 22 out of 225? Our president is not from boomers generation. He is from X generation. His thinking is completely different than our thinking. You see, we are talking about our revolution 2 years back. Yes, X, Y, Z generations. They did it. Not only here, they changed the government in Bangladesh. They changed the government in Nepal. They changed recently in Madagascar. So they are not going to rule the government or govern the government. What they are doing, they are changing the government. So we have to think about, we have to go with them. As we are boomers, we have to listen to them. What is the idea they have? So don't, young ladies, involved in politics. If old people say something, say, okay, boomers.
Now I have to ask my questions or my comments in Tamil.
Anything.
I can do that, but
To understand others.
yeah, I'll let the others to ask a question, not me.
Yes.
Okay. Question, please.
In Sinhala or Tamil or English. I surprised when I see this